Hi, I'd like you to meet Seri. Well, actually her name is Sarah, but we volunteered together at Cross Cultural Solutions, and there were 4 Sarahs at home base with us, so we just decided we were going to give her another name, so we named her Seri. So meet Seri.
Hello.
So Seri is actually in my book, and she shows up probably 5 or 6 different places in the book.
We had a lot of adventures, yeah.
We did. We did. So she is in the book as Seri of Seri's Cross Cultural Porch, Kissing a Giraffe in Kenya, the Hot Springs trip, Kilimanjaro trip, and then just we met up in Dar es Salaam after we had volunteered, and then Seri, because she's such a badass advocate for children. Of course, she did not just raise money and pay to volunteer at CCS for 3 months. Oh no, that wouldn't be enough for this woman.
Can't get enough.
She's such an advocate. She raised twice the money and took off twice the time. So after volunteering for 3 months in Tanzania, she then went straight to Cape Town to volunteer 3 more months in CCS in Cape Town. So I ended up traveling down the eastern side of Africa and ended up in Cape Town while she was still there. So we reconnected again, and then we get together and we're like talking 90 miles an hour, catching up on the last 3 months of our life. And then she says, I'm going to a march tomorrow and you're going with me. And I'm like, of course that would be her conversation, and of course I couldn't say no. So we marched.
Yes, it was the Equal Education March, and it was a day off of school in the city. It was a national holiday, and all these young people had come together to really fight for something they believed in. They came in their school uniforms. We were surrounded by young people who were singing and dancing and laughing and marching through the streets.
About the only white people there. But it was awesome.
Soaking up the joy and the fire and the passion too, because they were really fighting for it. They wanted minimum norms and standards in education, so that schools across the country would have the same standards and that they would have the same resources, whether that be like a bathroom.
Well, yeah. The standards were, we want a bathroom, we want teachers, we want textbooks, like all the things we would totally take for granted here. They didn't even have that.
So no more mud schools. They wanted real schools. They wanted it not just for themselves but for their peers. So it was just like this infectious, like amazing experience of marching through the city, seeing them fight for what they believe in, and it was so cool to be a part of.
Yeah, there were 20,000 kids, and we marched from City Center to the Parliament to make a statement. So it was awesome.
And we're just one cog in the wheel, but to see young people who are fighting for what they actually are, believe in is amazing.
Yeah. So then, Seri, I'm wondering, I have a question. What was your biggest takeaway while you were volunteering in Africa?
Jeez. I mean, I went there to teach. My background was education, but I feel like it's so trite to say, but I learned way more than I taught. I went there knowing I loved teaching, I loved working with children, I loved seeing a spark when people learned a new thing, but I didn't love all the bureaucracy of especially education at home. I didn't like all the red tape and all the testing, and I wasn't sure if that was for me, and you can't go into that half-hearted. That's not fair to any kid or a classroom of children. So I came back with this new fire, because while I was there, it was really about stories. I learned so many stories from so many humbling, amazing, passionate people, especially these kids that I was working with, and they were in schools and places where they didn't have all the resources they need, especially in the languages that they needed. So imagine being in a place where you might have books around you, but they're not in your language, or they're not about your life, they're not relevant to you.
How could they even read them?
Right.
If they're not in their language.
Well, especially, and they're learning to read, so it was really tricky. But so I came back and I was like, I just love being able to have that moment where you find the right book for the right kid that speaks to them, that provides windows and mirrors, and so...
Is that how you became a librarian?
It's how I became a librarian. I came back, and now I peddle books all over town, but and I completely accredit that to my time in Africa and those young people that I worked with. I wouldn't be where I am now without that, so...
Excellent. Well, I feel the same way. Without my trip to Africa, I would not be who I am today.
And I wouldn't have met you.
I know.
No. awesome. I recommend traveling to everybody.
Yes.
You might have a roommate like Lucetta.
Or like Seri.